Hello, in this presentation we're going to create a purchase order which includes a new item that we will have to set up within QuickBooks Online. We will have a comprehensive QuickBooks Online course soon, if not available yet. We also have a comprehensive Excel course which complements the QuickBooks courses and a QuickBooks Pro desktop version course you can find at the link below. Here we are with the QuickBooks Online dashboard. We will be continuing with the Get Great Guitars problem, setting up a purchase order where we will need a new inventory item which we will then add. In order to get to the purchase orders, we're going to select the plus icon up top. We have our sections, the customers, vendors, employees, and others. We are in the customer section. We're in the vendor section. We're going to be purchasing from the vendor. And we have the purchase order, the item we need. We're going to select the purchase order. Within the purchase order, remember what we're doing with the purchase order is we are requesting to buy something, and there's actually no transaction happening here. A very funny thing about the purchase order is that it's just a documentation that nothing in the financial statements happens, whereas just about every other form we have, there's something that happens to the financial statements. So although we will have numbers here in terms of what we're going to buy for the purchase order, we haven't bought it, and we haven't asked for, and we haven't paid for it, and we haven't received it. Therefore, we're not going to record inventory or the payment. Different than oftentimes when we purchase something personally from something like Amazon or an online distributor where we actually do pay for it at the time of purchase, even though we have not yet received it. In this case, we're going to say that we're not going to pay for it until we receive it. Very common for that to be the case in a type of situation where we purchase a lot from a particular vendor, giving the purchaser more power to be able to not make the payment until they receive the order and can check the order that it's in compliance with what they wanted to have ordered on the purchase order. So we're going to set up who we're going to purchase from, which is going to be the vendor, which in this case is Fender. We're going to purchase guitars from Fender, which is our vendor. And that is a new vendor, so we're going to set up that vendor. We're going to add the vendor of Fender. We're not going to have an email for Fender at this time. We're going to say the mailing address. We're not going to include anything on the mailing address, the ship to, and then we will have the date that we'll have input here, and that's going to be for the month of February. The date will be 02/09/21. February 9th, 2021. We're going to be working in that year, that month. We keep going through this. We're going to tab through and we get to the product or service that we will have. It's going to be a new one. Typically, if we select the drop down, this is going to be the items we're going to order, typically inventory items. We're purchasing guitars in this case. We don't have this item on there. We're going to add it and we're going to say it's an SQ that we want. So we're going to say tab. That's going to be a new item we need to add. It's going to be an inventory type item, so we're going to select the inventory type item and add this item as we go. Now we're going to tab through this. Typically we just really need to get the sales price and the cost in here. So we're going to tab through this and we're going to say the initial quantity, we don't have any. As of date, we're not going to have, we got reorder point. Where do we, like how low do we want to get before we reorder? We're not going to put anything there at this time. The inventory asset account will be inventory asset. So when we say that we have these guitars, these items, these inventories, they will be in the asset account on the balance sheet. The sales description is it's going to be a Squire. That's the type of guitar we're going to have. And then we're going to say the sales price or rate. So this is what we're going to sell them for, not what we are purchasing them for, which is what will be on the purchase order. Once we sell them, it's going to be for the larger amount of $244, and that's going to be going to the income account of sales of product income. So that's going to be our inventory or our revenue type account or our income type of account. The account that will be recorded once we sell this item for $244, it's going to increase revenue or income to that account, increasing net income. It is going to be a taxable item. We're going to have to charge sales tax for it. That will depend on the region we are at as to whether it will be sales tax. In our case, it is taxable, and we tax inventory items and not service items is how we're working our sales tax. Then we're going to say the sales tax category. I'm just going to choose retail here. So you probably want to make sure you're picking the correct category there. So we're calculating the correct sales tax. We just want to make sure to calculate some sales tax so that we know how the sales tax will be calculated. It will differ from place to place. I'm going to say the item is taxable retail item. So then we're going to have the purchasing description. I'm going to say that's the same. So we'll copy this description and that will be the same here. And then finally we have the cost. We're going to sell them for $244. We're going to buy them for $168 in this case. And where did we come up with these numbers, by the way? These are just being given to us. What we would have to do, of course, in real life is note what we're going to buy it for and then decide on the appropriate markup. What do we want to receive as a markup on that? And that's going to be a business decision we'll need to make. Then we have the expense account. When we sell something again, we have the revenue account here and the related expense of us consuming the inventory, the asset in this case, in order to generate revenue. That's an expense. That's our most important expense when we sell inventory items, called cost of goods sold. So that's going to be it. That'll set up our inventory item here rather than having to go to the items section, setting it up there before creating a purchase order or an invoice or a sales receipt. So we're going to say save and close. And it's saying that we are required to have a field up here. So initial quantity, I'm going to say is 0. That's indicated by this little star. So we did that on purpose, of course, to note that we have to have that information there. So, and then we're going to say the initial date. And I'm just going to say the beginning of the month, 02, 01 that we're working in, 21 we're working in this month and this year. A reorder point, we don't need that. It's not a required field, no little asterisks. So we're going to keep that as is. And we're going to say save and close. And so there is our information on the purchase order. Here's the product or service, the description. The quantity that we're going to buy is 1. The rate is what we just input into the item of 168, the amount 168. Customer is optional, depends if we're going to order this for a particular customer or if we ordered this for basically the store to have in the store. We're going to say that we ordered this for a particular customer. The scenario being, customer came into the store, says they like this guitar, they would like a different color or something like that. So we're going to basically order the purchase order for that particular guitar and apply it to this particular customer. And by putting the customer in place here, we can use that to generate the rest of the transactions related to this piece of inventory, including the bill, payment of the inventory, the check, and the invoice that we will make to this customer for this guitar that we assume or hope to get for them. So the customer is going to be new music stuff. And so we're going to say that's going to be our customer. This is a new customer, so we're going to add them as a customer. We're not going to add any details. We're just going to save the description there. And that's going to be it. I'm going to click off of that so that it will total up over here. We're not going to add any vendor message or memo at this time or any attachments. So remember what this is going to do in terms of journal entries. Nothing. It's not going to record anything, although we have an amount here. It's not going to increase inventory. It's not going to increase a payable. It's not going to record the fact that we made a payment. We haven't made a payment. We don't have any inventory yet. And we don't owe the inventory because we haven't received it yet and therefore are not yet obligated to pay for it. So there's no transaction here, even though there's a dollar amount, which is unusual, but that dollar amount will be tracked for us within the purchase orders within the system and can then be used to apply out to when we receive the inventory and help us to create the recording of that inventory. So we're just going to save this item. Now we're going to do this one more time. So I'm going to close this one out. We've saved it. I'm going to close it. Then we're going to open another purchase order. I'm going to go to the plus item. We're going to go to vendors, purchase order. And we'll enter another purchase order, more of our standard purchase order that we have had in the past, our main guitars that we purchase. And we're going to purchase from the vendor. If we select the drop down, we'll see the vendors here. We're going to type in the vendor of Epiphone. And here is Epiphone. We're going to purchase guitars here. Again, the spelling, if it's wrong, sorry about that. The address will be here. And then we're going to say the ship to and the purchase order date. We're gonna say is 02/09/21. That's gonna be the month we are working with this particular problem. We're gonna scroll down to the items down here, and note what it did is it remembered the last item, which was an ELP, and the description. So it's populating that for us and trying to help us out there. If we have multiple purchase items, then this may not be the most useful place for that, because we may be ordering different items from the same vendor at any given time, so you have to check that out. If we always order the same item, it could help. This is the main guitar we purchased, so that's actually what we want. The ELP, that's going to be the guitar we are purchasing. The sales description automatically populates. However, we're not going to purchase one this time. We're going to purchase 3 of them at a rate of 400. Amount then 1,200. That'll give us the total amount 1,200. So note once again that although we have 1,200 as the amount, we know that will be the amount. There's no journal entry to this, meaning we didn't get the inventory, we haven't made the payment, we don't even owe that money yet because we haven't received the inventory for that money to be owed. So no transaction happening. However, that 1,200 on the purchase order can be used to generate the bill, to generate the check, to generate the invoice as we move through the process, as we receive the guitar, bill the guitar, pay for the guitar, and then hopefully sell the guitar and invoice clients for it. This time we're not going to have a customer. We're just going to put these guitars, these are our main guitars, we're going to purchase them in and put them in the store. So we'll have these ready to sell within the store. We didn't get any pre-order for them. We don't have any customer to assign them to at this time. So we're just going to save that, and that will be it for the purchase orders.